Good morning, everybody, and Happy New Year. I hope everybody had a safe and happy Christmas time, and that the new year went okay. New Year's Eve was last night. I didn't make it at all. I was dead asleep at 9 o'clock. Fortunately, someone in the neighborhood set off some fireworks, so it woke me up about 10 minutes before midnight. So I was able to tune in to see the ball drop in New York. And texted some family members Happy New Year, and then had a little bit of trouble falling back asleep. But everything seems to be okay, though. So today we at least have the day off work, which is now starting to ease up a little bit. So everybody's just relaxing and hanging out. It's a beautiful sunshiny day here. Wind is picking up out there a little bit, though. The temperature is about to get cold again. We got spoiled. We had a few days where it was a little bit on the warmer side. Actually had a thunderstorm yesterday afternoon, which was pretty cool. Nothing bad. And that's pretty much been it. It has been a very welcome round of not a whole lot going on, which I'm glad of, because I needed that. Otherwise, everything else is okay. The cats are all doing all right. Everybody's been passing around a kitty cold. They even passed it to me. I've been sick on and off. Everyone where I work is sick. Everybody seems to have some kind of a upper respiratory mess going on between coughing and congestion, and I don't know, I guess maybe it's just the weather, because it's been going back and forth from hot to cold. So that's been a little rough. So I've been going through the same thing where I'm freezing 1 minute and then I'm fine. Not running a fever though, but just not feeling great overall. So I'm happy to have a little bit of time off work anyway, where I can try to recoup and do a little bit better. So the kitties are all doing all right. There's Miss Finny in the window there. She's still sneezing a little bit, but not as bad. And then she passed it on to Miss Daisy. Then Miss Daisy only had it for a couple of days. And then she was over it. And Miss Mina is sneezing. She was sneezing pretty bad a couple of days ago, and now she's starting to get better. So, everybody's had it for a couple of days, and then they stop. Finny's the one who's had it the longest. So now that the holidays are over, if she doesn't perk up soon, she was doing better, which is why I wasn't but so concerned. And she's been eating through the whole thing. She's eating and playing and still being her usual Finny self. She's just sneezing and her eyes are running. So if she keeps it up now that the holidays are over, I might call the vet and just see if they want to give her she might need one of those little, I think they call them congenial. It's like an antibiotic injection. It's a very broad spectrum antibiotic. Sorry. And sometimes when they're having a little trouble getting over something like that, it's a little extra boost they need. But everybody else is okay. There's Chunky Monkey up there. And Mr. Alex is sleeping. There's Sylvester, who's doing okay. There's pieces of cardboard all over the floor because they ripped apart a box. There's Miss Marigold. They also ripped apart the center of their little scratchy pad thing there. So between the box they tore up, which is on the other side of the couch, and the scratchy pad thing, I've got bits of cardboard everywhere. And there's Miss Marigold, and Sylvester, and Chunky Monkey, and Alex, and Maggie is sleeping in the round thing. There's Willow, who just came around the way. Miss Katie's in the top of the round thing. Mina's in the little box. Lucy's on the other side, in front of the door in the sun. Excuse me, along with Gus Gus. And I think Austin is over there as well. Of course, there's Foo-Foo in the window. And then I've got in my lap Mr. Toes. Right, Mr. Toes, you gonna say Happy New Year to everybody? Say Happy New Year, says Mr. Toes. Toes McGee. And your awesome polydactylness. Oh, we've got a wild Daisy. Hello, Miss Daisy. Did you want to say Happy New Year too? You did? Okay. Yeah, you be nice to Mr. Toes. Alex got mad at him because they were fighting over the window this morning. And Alex walloped him. Yeah. So my poor Mr. Toes got smacked for no good reason, right? He was just looking out the window, being a good boy. And Alex was kind of in jerk mode this morning. My poor boo-boo. My poor boo-boo. And anyhow, what you got, Mr. Toes? Mr. Toes. Nope. I hear meow meows coming from outside. That could be our new friend who comes by to say hello. Evidently somebody somewhere has an orange cat. There's like an orange marmalade colored cat with white. It's kind of a white and cream tiger stripe. Kind of mix. He must belong to somebody because he's in really good shape. Like you can tell he's not a stray. Or she. I don't really know what it is. But apparently it belongs to somebody in the neighborhood because it passes through. He or she passes through here. And since I've been home a little bit for, Christmas Day and New Year's Day, I've been able to see what the orange cat does. He's very cute. He comes by and he sticks his head up in the window. And he says hello to my guys. Oh, there he is. He's calling Mr. Toes. Mr. Toes is going over to say hello. And then he pops his head up and he says hi to everybody. So we don't know who he is, but he's very well kept, very well groomed, so it's obvious he belongs to somebody. He's not skinny or anything like that, so he's eating somewhere, so we're not going to worry about him. We're just going to consider him a friend that's going to come and visit, right? We're going to see if he's outside to say hello. There he is. You see him on the porch. Let's go around to the door and see if we see him. Poor Gus Gus. Gus Gus is terrified of me. I am public enemy number 1. Where'd our friend go, He left the porch already? Oh, there he is. He's walking down the driveway. He's good. So there's Willow and Sylvester, and there's Mr. Alex, because we love Mr. Alex. And there's Miss Daisy. I think it's a male, and I don't think, because he walks around calling a lot, so I don't know if he's a male looking for a female, which means he's not fixed, which means he's definitely not mingling with my gang. I am sorry, Gus Gus. Gus Gus is permanently terrified of me, and I'm very disappointed about that. The whole incident with the vet and the stereo falling on him, he's never been the same since then. And I think he associates me with bad things happening. He used to at least still come and see me when I was sitting up in bed reading a book, but he won't even do that anymore. He won't even be in the same room with me. And I feel so bad, like he won't even come into the kitchen to eat if I'm in there. I put the food down for everybody and he hides in the living room. And I have to go down the hallway so that I can give him enough time to go into the kitchen and eat, because he's that scared of me. And I feel so bad. There's nothing I seem to be able to do to make him no longer terrified of me. And I feel really bad. But I guess he's associating me with that whole bad incident that happened. And so when he sees me, he immediately thinks she's going to take me somewhere or I'm going to get hurt. And he's gone. So I'm like, That's so disappointing because I love my Gus Gus and I can't even get near him. I can't even be in the same room with him because he runs from me, which I feel terrible. It makes me feel like, it just makes you feel bad when you know you love them so much and they're so terrified of you. And it's nothing that you even did on purpose, but they're still so terrified of you. So I might ask around and see if anybody at work knows someone that wants to adopt him, because I don't want him to live a life where he's terrified all the time. But I don't know if he'd be any better with anybody else. But I might have to see what to do, because I don't want him being scared to death all the time. That's no good for him either. So we'll see. I mean, he is neutered now, so the other option would be in the springtime to see if he wants to be a mostly outdoor cat like Phoebe is. He likes Phoebe, so maybe he'll want to hang around with Phoebe. That might be the option, and then he only comes in to eat, if he wants to come in at all. I don't know. I'll have to see. See how it goes. I'd much rather just get him adopted out, where he'll be inside, because he's only been an inside cat, so I really don't want to turn him loose outside, because he's not street smart and everything like Phoebe is. She grew up out there, so. And he didn't, so. I don't know. We'll have to see, won't we, guys? Right, Mr. Toes? Right. So, I don't even know. Nope, I don't see him anywhere. I miss Daisy. But he was out there. I heard him meowing. Right, Mr. Toes? Me and my striped towel that I put down on the chair. I've learned with 14 cats to just make sure you have a covering on everything you're sitting on a regular basis, because at some point someone's going to jump up on it and either throw up on it, or they're going to be wrestling with each other and somebody's going to accidentally pee a little bit, which happens sometimes. And so I've come to the conclusion it's easier to just put towel coverings on everything, because it's easier to wash a towel than it is to drag out upholstery cleaners and everything else. So that's why I've got towels and rags covering everything. Like, the furniture's shot anyway. So eventually I will get new furniture, but there's no point in spending a bunch of money on furniture right now, because there are still so many cats. They'll just destroy it. And there are other things that money needs to be spent on. The roof is on the schedule for February, so that means I have the month of January to look into getting Daisy and Marigold spayed, and maybe trying to fix the car. And then after that, it'll be the end of February when Lucy and Mina should be old enough and big enough to be spayed at the vet. I mean, technically they're old enough and big enough now, but the particular vet that I go to likes to wait for them to be, I think it's 5 pounds. At least 5 pounds, and preferably closer to 6 months old, just for the sake of the anesthetic. That they don't have any adverse reactions and that type of thing. I know, like, the SPCA and stuff does it when they're like 3 months old if you want them to, but personally I was never into doing it that young, because I would always be scared that they'd have a reaction, or that the anesthesia that they have to use would have either some kind of an effect, or, I mean, I'm sure it's fine, because lots and lots and lots of people do it all the time, but I just kind of like the way my vet does it. There are 2 different vets I go to. Half of my gang is with one vet in town, and the other half is, the newer guys are with a different vet in town. And both vets are excellent. The only reason, honestly, I switched is the original one I was taking everybody to. They only had 2 veterinarians there. And one has had a lot of health problems. So it's been just the one veterinarian trying to take care of everybody in the clinic. And it's difficult. So if you try to call and make an appointment, even if the cat is sick, they do the best they can to work you in, but sometimes you still have to wait, 3 or 4 days before they can get you in. And if it's just a well cat exam, it winds up being an appointment made weeks ahead of time. What are you doing, Mr. Alex? You're not going to go outside. You know better than that. Where the other veterinary clinic that I switched to, I think they have 2 or 3 doctors. So, like, when I have an issue with a cat or something like that, if it's, not a prior patient, like I'm not switching patients, but any new cats, the new kittens and stuff like that have all been going to the new clinic. And when I have an issue with anybody, I call them and I usually have an appointment. If they're sick, I have an appointment within like 4 hours, if they can do it, which is the way the other place used to be. But they're just too overwhelmed right now. They're still a very good place, very good doctor, not that they're bad, but the scheduling is a nightmare, and it's just not practical. So they're about to probably all freak out a little bit because there's somebody outside walking a very big German Shepherd. Beautiful German Shepherd, too. But a very big dog, so I'm expecting everybody to be either glaring out the window like they are right now. I'm actually surprised they're watching it. Usually when they see somebody walking a dog, they're gone. I guess because it's across the street. If somebody's walking in front of my house and they have a big dog on the leash, everybody usually runs down the hallway and goes under my bed. Which I always thought was kind of funny because most of these guys have never been outside. So they don't even know what a dog is. Like Sylvester's been inside his whole life. So as Daisy, Toes, and Finny know what a dog is. Maggie knows what a dog is. Katie knows what a dog is, but Chunk has never been outside. Mina's never been outside. Marigold's never been outside. It's just the OG group that were indoor-outdoor, which is, Alex, Katie, Finny, Austin, Phoebe. Of course, she's out there right now. She's the only one that really still goes outside. They were the group really that did. Toes I rescued from outside. But I don't know if he was an outside cat originally or not. I just know when he showed up, gosh, I guess it's been a year or so, 2 years maybe. He started showing up. I'm thinking somebody dumped him because he showed up one day out of nowhere. All of a sudden, he was in my driveway hanging out, and bless his heart, the poor thing was bald from his whole backside, from like mid-waist down to the base of his tail. He had no hair, and he had all these open sores that were bleeding, and I was like, oh man, this guy needs help. So, it took me a while to be able to get close enough to him to give him help. And eventually I got him to trust me. It took like 2-3 weeks, though. Meanwhile, the poor guy had all these sores on him. So I got him finally to come inside my house, and I kept him isolated because I didn't know, of course, if what he had was catchy or not. And he was one of the first ones I took to the new clinic because my original clinic that I went to didn't have time to see me because of everything going on. So I went to the new place, and they were able to give him some antibiotic shots and stuff, and we did the whole thing, and they didn't think he was going to make it because his blood work actually showed that he had a very serious infection that was actually in its skin itself. What it seemed like had happened was he had been in a fight, and then he went and hid someplace where the open wounds came into contact with some kind of bacteria in the dirt, wherever it was that he went and hid after he was wounded. And the result of that was just this chronic bacterial infection in his skin. So it's not contagious. Nobody else can get it from him. Unless, of course, it's, open wound on open wound kind of thing. Then I suppose there's a chance. But for the most part, it's just, he was in really bad shape. And he was all skin and bones, and Oh, come on, Mr. Sylvester. No fighting, please. This is New Year's Day. Let's be nice to each other. They're fighting over the window a lot today. But they were actually saying that I should consider putting him down because he was in such bad condition. And to me, he just didn't seem ready yet, you know. For those of you that have animals a long time, you can kind of tell when they're ready to go. Like with everything that happened with Big Pete a couple of weeks ago, by the time, you know, I got to the vet and we found out what was wrong, I could just tell by the look on his face that he was miserable and he was ready to not be miserable anymore. You know, it's like, I don't know how to explain it. You can just kind of tell when they don't want to fight anymore, when they're tired and they're just like, just, you know, just let it go. And I didn't see that in Toes. He was still, despite everything he was going through, he was still very much a fighter. And he didn't seem like he was ready to give up to me. I didn't get that feeling from him. So I made a deal with the vet to try 1 round of antibiotic shots. And we'll see if there's any improvement. And if there's no improvement, you know, and he's not healing, or if he gets worse, then absolutely we'll let him go. And they agreed. And so they gave him the dose of the antibiotic. And I think an anti-inflammatory shot. And I got him home and I got him eating some good food. And we went back in 2 weeks. And in 2 weeks, half of the sores had healed up. His hair started growing back. He had gained, I think, 1 pound. Pretty sure he gained like a whole pound in 2 weeks just because he was finally eating regularly. And they agreed that it was working. So we went ahead and got another round of antibiotic. I think altogether he had 3 rounds of the antibiotic shot. And that seemed to do the trick. So he still has what I refer to as flare-ups, where every now and then, like he'll probably have one again because Alex smacked him on his hindquarters. And it's like if he gets in a squabble with anybody and they happen to scratch him, it seems like that irritates his skin and he'll get a flare-up where I'll notice a few patches will start. And then I just watch it real closely. But usually within like a day or 2 of it showing up, it scabs over and it heals and the hair grows back, starts to grow back. So I'm guessing it's something he's going to constantly fight with for the rest of his life. But as long as it doesn't go back to where he was, then I think he's going to be just fine. But he does good now. He's a good solid cat. He eventually wound up leveling off at, I think around 12 pounds is where he ended up, which is a good weight for a cat his size. Because he's very big. He's a long cat. He doesn't look at just sitting there compared to the others, but when he stretches out and walks, he's much bigger than the others. But yeah, so we're really glad we rescued him. But I don't usually take cats in unless, if I don't know who they belong to, unless there's something very obviously not right. So this orange guy that shows up is very healthy. Very well kept, very healthy, not skinny at all. You know, perfect kind of looking cat. So I'm not worried about trying to take him in because he very obviously is being taken care of by somebody. He just is outside. So I just think it's sweet how he comes by every now and then and he pops his little head up and says hello. Talks with all of my guys through the screen. And he says hello to Phoebe outside. And then he keeps going on his way wherever it is he goes. So I think it's very cute how they do that. But that's pretty much it. I thought about what I might do, because I'm not going to put any food out, obviously, because I don't want him to start showing up all the time thinking that he can come here and eat, because that's how I get started with the problems. And next thing you know, you have another dozen cats. So, but what I think I will do, and it's mostly for Phoebe, too, but then if he wants to use it in the meantime, he can. I used to have a little house that you would put together. It's kind of like a vinyl, sort of like a little tiny dog house, sort of, is what it would look like. And it's weatherproof. And I used to put it outside when I had a lot of cats hanging around out there that I was taking care of. And I would put it out there with a self-warming little cat mat. So they could go in and out of the weather in case it was snowing. Or in the wintertime here, we tend to get very windy days. Like today, there's a wind advisory. For some reason, in the wintertime here, there tends to be a lot of high winds. And sometimes it can be pretty bitter cold. So I like to try to make sure that anybody who is outside has some place they can go to get out of the wind and warm up a little bit if they want to. So I had this little vinyl house outside, and it did very good for many years, really, considering it was out in the weather. It lasted 2.5, almost 3 years. I would just tear it down every 6 months or so and make sure there was nothing living in it, like creepy crawlies or that kind of thing. I'd wipe down the vinyl, and if the little mat that was in there was crummy looking, I'd throw it out and buy a new one. And put it in there, and it would work pretty good. And then when I had all the trouble with the neighbors that time, I took down all of the shelters that I had everywhere, including the one on the front porch. But now that all the outside cats are not outside anymore, most of them are inside permanently with me, or they've already moved on or been adopted out. The only cat who's really hanging around outside is Phoebe. So now that I'm down to only one that hangs around out there, I'm not afraid to put one little house on the porch so she has somewhere to go to get out of the wind. Because I think right now she goes into there's a holly bush. Are you stuck, Mr. Toes? Mr. Toes has got one of his side nails stuck. Here. Did you get yourself unstuck? I think he got it. Are you good, buddy? Yeah, I think he got it. Let me make sure. Are you okay, Mr. Toes? Are you unstuck? Or are you still stuck? No, I think you're still stuck. Are you okay? All right. There you go. Okay. Yep, you're okay. I just wanted to make sure you weren't still stuck. He's a good boy. You're a good boy too, Chunky Monkey. Goofy. Miss Daisy. And a sleepy Miss Katie. And a sleepy Miss Maggie. And a Sylvester, and a Foo Finny, and a William. Willow, William. Will, whatever I decide to call you at that moment in time. Okay. And Mr. Toes. But anyway. So. Yeah. So we hope that everybody had a nice holiday season. And that everybody was able to remain safe. And everybody here is safe and sound. So far, so good. And we'll see what 2025 brings, right, guys? All right, Sylvester, don't be a dork. Problem I have with him is Willow wants to be Sylvester's buddy so bad, and I feel so bad for Will, because he just wants to be a part of everything. And he does this with Alex, too. He gets right up on them because he wants to be friends with everybody. And the other ones don't want to be his friend. So I've got poor Will trying to show up and be a buddy, and he just gets smacked around all the time. And I feel so bad for him because he's such a good guy. So, I don't know, we'll see. I've been discussing back and forth with my mother whether or not her cat needs a friend. Because if I were to pass anybody on to her, it would probably be Will. Because he kind of gets beat up here. And he's a sweetheart of a cat. I know he would be okay. Over there, would just be a question of whether or not her cat would beat him up. So probably it won't change. It'll probably just be everybody here doing their thing, and I'll just try to figure out what to do with poor Gus Gus. Because I just feel so bad for him. Because he's always scared, you know. If I'm in the house, he's like on edge all the time, and that's not nice. I don't want him to have to live like that. So I'll give him a little more time and see if he comes out of it or not. He looked like he was starting to, where he was coming up on the bed again, and he was coming inside again, and then something changed. I don't know what. Nothing happened that I was aware of. I didn't yell at him. He didn't get in trouble for anything. He's a good boy. All of a sudden, he just decided he was absolutely terrified of me again. I don't know if maybe it was... And with him, it could be anything, because he's so skittish. It could have been that he was sleeping and I vacuumed. And the fact that I was there with the vacuum cleaner and he was dead asleep. And it scared him. Now, all of a sudden, I'm public enemy number one again. He's so touchy about that kind of stuff. The slightest little thing sends him into hysterics. So, I'm kind of like, well, I don't know. We'll give him a little bit more time to see if he comes out of it. I'm just afraid when the roof gets replaced. Loud noises and stuff like that seem to freak him out so bad. And I'm like, oh man. And then the entire roof is going to be replaced. So, he's going to be traumatized all over again, the poor thing. But hopefully they'll be able to do it all in one day. Because I have a small house. So, see, we have our nice little cottage of a house, right guys? See, it's not big, it's not fancy, it's just enough for all of you and me. There's barely enough room for me, but that's okay. As long as there's enough room for all of you. I just pay the mortgage. It's your house, right? Right. So, we'll see how it goes. But anyhow, I have been rambling and babbling on long enough. So, I hope you guys once again had a great holiday season. And here's to 2025. And I hope it brings good times, prosperity, and happy memories for everybody. Okay? All right, we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.